This podcast provides a platform for our guests to share their experiences and inspire our listeners to be brave and bold in pursuit of their dreams. As you listen, we invite you to explore how these concepts apply to your own story. You know what to do. Be great and be grateful. We're mic'd up with Mike DeChocho. Hey guys, my guest today is not your average gal. She has an engineered artistic mind with a bartender's personality. She's a divorced mom of one and has made her way through predominantly male industries to build a business tailored to those with a genuine giver's mindset. Her experience has aided her in her development of a process to educate others on how to build their networks intentionally. She's built her business through active community building and has helped others do the same, so that one day networking won't always feel like a dirty word. Welcome to the show, the co-founder of Ripple Effects, Christine Smith.
Hi, Mike. Thanks so much for having me on today.
How's it going? If everyone tuning in right now only knew the hoops that we had to go through to make this thing happen, I think they'd be really actively tuning in, because it's almost like the universe is trying to make it more difficult, but it's just got me more excited to talk to you today.
It gave us more ideas, though, I think.
It did. Yeah, we had more time for notes and everything else. So I have a ton of those here. I have great questions lined up so we can move the conversation forward. Super excited to have you here. I know you're busy. You're Zooming all day long. You're on LinkedIn. You're probably the most active connection I have of close to 5,000 connections. Every day I see great content coming from you. So thank you for that.
Well, thanks for letting me know I have good content.
Not only great content, you're a great networker, and that's what we're talking about here. So your title on LinkedIn is Networking Whisperer. So those are your own words, right? So I kind of teased that in the intro, talking about that you networking is really the arena that you're in, right? In many different ways. I want to talk about that. So can you elaborate on being a networking whisperer, what that actually means to our audience, and then how you actually can help someone build their network?
So that name came after having a conversation. People always have their opinions on, what they think I do, or, how they see my networking capabilities. So it was kind of interesting how it kind of came up in a conversation, and somebody mentioned that exact phrase to me when I was talking about what I was trying to build with Ripple Effects and why I think networking is typically thought of as a dirty word. And I didn't want people to think that anymore. And he's like, oh, it's like you're like the networking whisperer. You know how to speak to people, and you know how to, help people build something bigger. And I'm like, yeah, you're right.
We're talking about not only social networking, but physical, pre-COVID, because as we record this, we're still in the middle of a pandemic. But, the COVID-19 pandemic is still, unfortunately, going strong in a lot of places. So we're doing this virtually, but also you and I both love to go and give the handshake and meet people face to face. So I feel like a lot of people have that in their calendar. And when I'm saying a lot of people, I mean like business professionals usually, or people that are going to a networking event, or whether it's a chamber of commerce, maybe it's a business networking event where they're passing referrals, that kind of environment. And the dirty word concept is because it's like almost like a chore. Like, oh, I got to go get some fresh people to talk to. Mm-hmm. And I love it. But even someone like me who's super social and a lot of times has to remember to use my ears more than my mouth, even myself, sometimes it's like, okay, I got it. There's energy. There's a little bit of an energy zap when you go into a room of like 50 to 100 people. You got to try to figure out how you're going to fit in, right? So is that what you kind of mean when people refer to it as a dirty word?
Yeah, absolutely. So it kind of reminds me of like the high school cafeteria all over again. And, like you, I'm an extrovert and I don't have a problem, being in crowds of people. But when you are subjected to a new environment, and then you're subjected to people who are already paired off, that's super hard to figure out, well, what am I supposed to say? What am I supposed to do? How do I not be weird and awkward when I go up to somebody that I don't know? The whole point of that obviously is to go to a networking event to meet people, but it's hard to meet people when you have your professional hat on. And it's interesting, like if you correlate networking to what you would do at a barbecue, people wouldn't think of it as a bad word at all, because people do that and they do it very well. Or they
Called
wouldn't.
socializing. It's being human, right?
Right. But as soon as you put that professional hat on, people are like, oh my God, I don't know what to do. I don't know how to talk to people. I don't know how to be normal.
Yeah.
About professional stuff.
Right. And there's so many there's courses on this. There's Toastmasters. That's a great organization to help learn, right? There's different strategies. Like if you see two people at a table and there's a open spot for a third, that's a great one to work yourself in. But there's a lot of anxiety that comes with it too. So what are just a couple quick takeaways from that we can have in conversation here that our audience can take to their next, hopefully, physical networking event soon, to just be a little bit more comfortable and not be so afraid or have high anxiety walking through the doors?
So I would definitely recommend having a buddy to go with. This can work really well if you actually have a conversation before too about them talking about you and you talking about them. So I think the hardest thing about networking is it's really hard to talk about yourself in a professional manner without being professional, if that makes sense. Like, you don't want to work about other people and what you do.
Yeah.
So if you have somebody else, preaching about who you are and how awesome you are, that's way easier to follow up with than you trying to do that yourself.
That's great. So we even use that in sales as a third-party close concept where if you kind of walk away and someone else starts to reiterate some of the things that you talked about in your presentation, it's going to be strong because there's another being there delivering similar information. And if I meet you, Christine, and you're just like, and this is what I do, and I got ripple effects, blah, 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 blah. I mean, it's all valid. There's a reason I wanted you on. There's a reason that you're on the show right now. And shout out to Vinco, actually. My man Vinco contacted us too originally. But the reason I wanted you on the show is because I just know, you have so much going on for you. And what's really exciting is this is still early on in development too. You got like the whole open road ahead of you. I want people to tune into it. I know it's rippleeffects.us, but it has the unique spelling. Can you spell it for us?
Right. So it's RIPLEFX.us.
RIPLEFX.us. Awesome. And so give us an idea of how you co-founded it, right? So what is kind of the mission for Ripple Effects? Where is it now? Where do you see it going?
So I developed this company for the reason that I wanted people to be able to network intentionally and build communities just like I already have. So I already have people who advocate for me. I already have people who believe in what I do. So I wanted to be able to replicate that process and methodology for someone else, because networking isn't taught. This isn't something that you can go to school for. This isn't a part of, sales training. This isn't a part of any type of training. It doesn't exist. Right. So, where I see this going, I honestly see it transforming how people communicate. And if people can be more direct on what it is that they're looking for and who it is that they are, imagine how much faster business would be accomplished, how much more money people would make, how many more things would be resolved. I feel like a lot of things are just not completed because people are not asking.
Sure.
We all assume things. And I'm like,
there's a disconnect, right?
Oh, there's such a massive disconnect.
So is it consulting that you're doing? Are there programs? Is it training? What's tangible? What does it look like?
Yep. So Ripple Effects has a few different pieces. So we run events, we run roundtables, education discussions, workshops, and events, like happy hour type events. So cool. Even through pandemic, we've transitioned very, very quickly and easily to virtual. We also run strategic networking groups that are popping up all over the place. So it's not just relative to upstate New York, even though that's where a lot of the groups are based out of right now, because that's where I'm from. And those are very different than like BNI, for example, because they're not leads based. So they're very relationship driven. We talk about targets. We talk about how to make intros properly. We talk about it's not just about the client that we're looking for. It's who else is working with our clients that we can be connected to. The other piece that we do is the coaching side. So we're actually teaching people how to be better networkers. And there's a couple different pieces to that. So we have one where if you are looking for a job right now, so whether you're out of job, you hate your job, you were furloughed, whatever the situation is, you actually need to network, like more
Right.
than anything else. And I think some people who are in positions that are not sales, they don't think that they offer value, which is completely incorrect. They absolutely offer value. They have skills, they have experience, they have all these things that they offer. And there's no reason why they shouldn't be networking to find whatever it is they want to do. So we can teach them how to do that.
Yeah.
We also have a couple of different other programs teaching people, whether they're a business owner, they're in business development, they just started their new career, they've been in their career for 15 years. They want to actually have meaningful relationships. They are givers mentality already. So, giving connections to people is easy, but maybe they're not doing it where it actually comes back to them. They're not actually advocating for themselves. So we want to teach people not only how to build advocacy in the community, but also how to advocate truly for yourself to build business in a way that you don't feel like a Nikki car salesperson.
Yeah. I think there's so much great insight that you just gave there that I have some follow-up to.
Sure.
So number one, you mentioned the roundtables for Ripple Effects. It's for your members. So it's
Correct.
a paid member can attend a roundtable. And you do them on Monday. So Monday's a special day for both of us. I've mic'd up Mondays. You have roundtable Mondays as well. Do you want to elaborate on kind of what people can expect if they're a member and what they're getting at the roundtable?
Yep. So everything is all the events, whether you're an events member or recon member, you have access to all of these things. So when our portal's finished, obviously, so everything is public currently. But yes, under normal circumstances, it'd be for paying members only. So every Monday, this kind of started when pandemic started. So I was trying to figure out a way to really get in front of the public eye as Ripple Effects, not as Christine Smith. Right. So I wanted Ripple Effects to have its own reputation. So I initially started with a 7-week program, and every Monday was something education based. And then Wednesday and Thursday, I would do some type of happy hour or networking type event virtually. So we started talking about how to become a better networker. That was originally the first 7 weeks was based off of that. And then after that, every Monday, after having attended a couple roundtables, I was like, oh, I can do this better. I can have other information in here. And
like anything else, after a few times, you got more confident with it. You started to sharpen it up a little bit. Now, is there any opportunity with the roundtables where someone can get a teaser? You mentioned kind of now it's a public forum until it's more of a paid forum. But can someone go in and get a teaser and say, you know what, I need more of that. I'd love it to be a regular thing in my calendar?
So we offer orientation and info sessions that'll be open to the public every Wednesday. So it's where we get to have a very quick discussion with people on what Ripple Effects is doing and what we offer. So mentioning the events, the roundtables, the access to, obviously other members. You can also just be an events member too. So it's $10 a month. So you go once, it's like going to a chamber event. You pay $10 to go to an event. And you're still paying for your membership. So that's an opportunity for people as well. There's going to be public events because that's how you grow, your membership. So there'll probably be roundtables and other discussions that will be open. But right now it is open. So
where's the best way for people that are interested to keep in tune? So do you have a newsletter that goes out? Is it social media? Where's the best way for them to kind of peek at it and see, okay, Wednesdays, this is coming out. I want to get into that event, so make sure I register in time. Where's the best place for us to actively look?
So right now, everything is going through our LinkedIn page. So Ripple Effects has a LinkedIn page. We post all of our events, orientations, anything else is going on. We actually have a new recon group that's opening up next week. So any of those things get posted onto there, and people can follow us.
Cool.
And
another thing you talked about. Awesome. Thank you for sharing that. Another thing you talked about, there's a lot of people, again, we're in the middle of the pandemic. There's unfortunately a lot of people still out of work, right? Some got in unemployment while they can, and others that hasn't come to fruition yet, or they just simply been really actively looking, doing the right thing. So how can you help that group of people that they're just taking it actually as an opportunity to maybe like a refresh, right? I know actually something I wanted to throw another shout out to a friend of mine now, Peter Hurley, who was on my show. He's the founder of Headshot Mania and Headshot Crew, which basically it's this fantastic organization in New York City where they do new headshots for people, right? I mean, it's a paid thing. These are the top professionals in the world. And they just went and did like a 2-day event where anyone who was unemployed can come in and book time. And they were doing free headshots to help people who are out of work right now have that opportunity. So shout out to Peter Hurley. But so how can you guys, or what are you guys actively doing to help those that are unfortunately kind of on the in a situation right now where they're looking for work because of COVID?
Right. So as part of the coaching opportunity that we have specifically for people that are like you said, unemployed, furloughed, they don't like their job. So we give them access to resources. So career coach, people that can help with their resumes. We actually help with LinkedIn, HR, staffing firms, recruiting firms. So pretty much packaging everything together and saying, hey, here is a bunch of initial contacts for you. And we also introduce them to some top connectors in their area. So wherever they are in the US, it's something that, we can connect them to people who are active connectors, and even outside even outside their state, really doesn't matter. They just need to be connected to other people who are going to help build their confidence. And I think that's the biggest thing too. When you lose your job, it's very debilitating sometimes. You're losing that income. Maybe you're the only person bringing in an income in the household, or the other person is furloughed too. You just don't know. So we want people to get back up and running as quickly as possible. Our program, it's only 2 weeks. We have two sessions to kind of get people to understand that they have value, understand that, they have resources available to them. There are people who are willing to help. There are people who are willing to share their resources too. I think that's the biggest thing. If you're not in sales, I think it's a lot harder to understand how to network. So we want people to be confident in connecting with other people and actually telling them what it is they're looking for. But not just that, they're building connections to build more connections, to find those open doors that they might be looking for or not even realize they're looking for.
Yeah, and I think that's why another part of when I mentioned I had some follow-up questions, something you said was just helping people be more comfortable making connections and networking. And that it's not only a thing that salespeople should be looking for referrals. That's not really the right mentality. That's part of it. But really, it's just it's great to help people connect with anything, any profession you're in. Maybe it means at church on Sunday you're more comfortable mingling. You're starting a group with some friends. Like the ability to get comfortable in a networking setting. Let's just change the word networking with a group of people, peers, right? There's a dirty word again. Just in that environment, it's really a good thing that anybody can learn. It doesn't always have to be. And then, of course, the more that you present yourself, you're likable, you're memorable, something you say sticks with somebody. Whether you like him or hate him, I just saw a clip with Grant Cardone and someone was asking him what they should do at a job fair that they're going to, right? And he said, like, you throw your resume in front of these people, they're just going to read like half of a paragraph on page 1, right? And you're just going to be lumped in with everyone. It's like, look at someone in the face and not just do something to be memorable. Like that could be a bad thing too, but just give them something to remember you by in a positive way. Say something, ask an interesting question to the recruiter standing at a table, right? Because they're there for 8 hours. They're probably burned out too mentally. What can you do to stand out? So I just thought it was cool that he just kind of gave that insight of like, you got to connect with someone visually. They need to remember you, put your name and face together. So when they go back to their office, you're going to jump out. Maybe they put a star next to your name or whatever it is.
Right. And it's such a hugely impactful tool. Like, people just send their resumes off and hope that somebody sees it. I'm like, networking is how you get jobs. Like that is how you get into a company, because somebody knows you. Your resume is just icing on the cake to make sure you're qualified. But even then, you could have been in the job industry for 15 years and be starting a whole new career, but you get hired because someone knows you're capable. They're confident in you, right? Or somebody, they had 5 other people that recommended you. You're going to get that job.
I can tell you too, this is like my 39th or 40th episode now that I've recorded. And I can tell you, in the beginning, I had people chosen by myself to start the show, right? And like, I'm going to interview a couple of these people. Many of them I knew through networking. Again, funny enough, some were friends and some were kind of friends of friends. As the show got up and running, now like Vinco, for example, who connected you and I, that's happening all the time. Like, Mike, I tuned in your episode. I love it. I think Christine Smith would be perfect. Then I do my homework. You and I talked, and it was a great fit. So that is like communication, networking, connections is the reason I'm on social as much as I am, to better myself, not only professionally, but personally as well. And it's all one for me. Like, you know what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
I'm just giving an example that it's completely helped me to stay relevant on LinkedIn. And I've gotten so many awesome connections, yourself included, from simply being top of mind through
Right.
connections, communicating, being active. Something that's really important, though, is having deeper quality conversations. So it's like, you don't always want to have the first conversation and put 1,000 hooks in the water, right? And just spend all of Monday just making new connections on LinkedIn if you're not actually going to be having a deeper conversation. So talk about the professional development side of what you do and how you can help people get into a deeper conversation.
So I think the education on this is just so big because it doesn't exist. So helping people to learn through everyone else's trial and error and saying, this is why it's important to have these just different conversations. First and foremost is to separate yourself. You have to be able to separate yourself from other people in the same business as you, even though, even if you work for the same company, it doesn't matter. You need to be able to distinguish yourself. And I think some people aren't comfortable doing that because they don't know enough about themselves until somebody has a conversation with them. Like, most people know what they're capable of, how they communicate, all that sort of thing, right? But no one's asking those questions and how it correlates to building a clientele and building a network. So if you understand that you're very, introverted and you don't do well in big networking type situations, but yet you keep throwing yourself into those situations thinking things will change, they're not, because that's not who you are, and that's making you really uncomfortable, and then it has a snowball effect everywhere else.
Yeah.
So why torture yourself, right? So if you know that you're introverted, okay, well, maybe you just have more one-on-one meetings. Okay, well, what are you saying in those one-on-one meetings? And that's something that we want to teach our members, is how to be more intentional with your time and how to make sure that you are having good conversations regardless of whether that person's going to be a client or not. And I think that's the difference too, is having the understanding that not everyone's going to be a client, but that doesn't mean that they're not an opportunity. That doesn't mean that they don't offer value. And there can't be this, synergistic explosion that can still happen and leads you to all these other open doors that you didn't even think were possible before.
Yeah, it can get ugly if every time you talk to someone, you're expecting to sell them something, because, then you're not really listening either. You're just trying to always, I know there's that saying, always be selling or always be closing it is, but really with networking, it's like always see, and you mentioned it, it's also in the top of it's in your intro here as well, the genuine giver's mindset. And that's what you're all about. Have you read Go Giver by Bob Berg? Did we talk about that yet?
We've talked about it, but I haven't read it. No.
It's another, I didn't want to go down the shameless plug, but I did interview him a few episodes back. I think you'll dig it. Anyone listening, if you didn't hear that, Go Giver, it's the same thing that you're talking about. Your mentality is give first, and you don't always expect a sale right away. And that's not why you're helping someone out, is to say, ooh, now they owe me something. But you know what? You give, and you help, and you feel good about it, and people know who you are, genuine, and what you do, and you're great at it. Why would they not want to send you more referrals? Like, you're just getting yourself out there doing the right thing. Now you're just telling the universe that, hey, here she is. She's doing the right thing, and good things are going to start to happen, right? And you don't just sit there and wait for them. You're grinding out every day, and they come. Another thing I wanted to get back to is, you have the background with predominantly male industries, right? One of them was the car industry.
Right.
You did extremely well. You were creative in how you connected with people, and we talked about that. Can you share how you use what you know now, even back then, and how that helped you get ahead?
So I think it was just being more A to B. That was the biggest issue in the car business, is there's a lot of people that are beating around the bush all the time. You go to a dealership. We had this conversation a couple calls ago, right? Like your guy was just kind of, not getting back to you, not giving you an answer. Like that is so typical of sales in general. It's like,
I just want to interject because I want to make sure we paint the picture so people know what we're talking about. So a lot of times you go to purchase a car, you feel like you're getting the runaround, even if it's the guy that knows a guy and you're supposed to be getting taken care of. And so Christine, she did extremely well selling cars. She was out on the floor, but she slept at night because she always felt she did the right thing, or she did do the right thing. So she made sure customers knew what they were getting. She was very detailed about it. She would show them, hey, here it is. Here's the document, line by line. So you literally did things by connecting with people, networking, and also you a giver's mentality where you made sure that the customer was getting the best product for them and everything else. So I just want to make sure people understand what we're talking about here, the world of scene of what you were working in. And you saw a lot of things that turned your stomach upside down around you, but that didn't mean that it defined you as a person. So let's you can pick it right back up. I just want to make sure we're clear about what you were doing.
Right. And that was the thing. I wasn't trying to go against the grain of how things had always been, but I just feel why can't we make the customer experience better and not take advantage of somebody? You can still do really well financially. You can have a successful business and not do it a sleazy way. And that was the biggest thing in the car business. It was like, well, how much can we take advantage of somebody? And there's a lot of things against that now. There's a lot of regulations. You can get in a lot of trouble for doing things that dealers are some of them are still doing. So, that experience just really was a continual motivation to make sure that people were doing things intentionally. We see all the time, even at virtual events, like someone will connect with you, they see you have a big network, and rather than actually be a part of your life genuinely and show you their true authentic self, they just give you just enough. And then you have a meeting with them and you're like, well, that was just a meeting to sell me something. You didn't even you didn't even listen to what I had to say. And I hate that. It drives me insane. And I can see right through a lot of those salespeople very, very fast.
The more you're out there, the more you can smell it and kind of see it before it happens. And I kind of find, because I guess I'm a little bit more vulnerable or gullible in that I always feel there's good in everyone. So I let them kind of drag me along. Most people are like, I see it, it's done, I moved on. And I've had people tell me like, Mike, I knew you were getting yourself down the wrong path, but you said you didn't want us to get in your way, and here you are. So a lot of times I need to kind of take the lumps for me to learn, but yeah, definitely you can see. So thank you for sharing that. I have a few more questions here regarding networking, and then obviously you can add anything else you'd like to add to that. And then I have lightning round where we're learning a little bit more about you, right?
Okay, sounds good.
You talked off camera, this is our last call, about multiple networking layers. Is there anything you want to add to so we can understand what that means?
Yeah, so what that means is, we talked about during our roundtable discussion today about time and how time is, effective and through our bodies and how we do business and how we take care of our families and things like that. But there's a lot of little pieces that make up your day, right? How much time, communication, and effort you put into people is a big part of that. So that could be a part of building your business. That could be a part of working on your business. You hire people to train or you delegate or whatever. So I figured out, not like it's not a math equation or anything, but it's essentially a triangle. And people that you spend the most time, communication, and effort are going to be at the top. Plain and simple. And that's not everybody. It's not all your clients. It's not all the people you network with. And there are certain qualities that people should be actively looking for to be able to differentiate that. And, so for example, and this was something that's taken me a long time to figure out, but once I figured it out, because people always ask me how do you keep track of everybody in your network, I'm like, easy. They put effort in. That's plain and simple. Yeah. You stay front of mind with people when you do things to make sure you're staying front of mind. So whether it's, you meet with them weekly, or you're sharing their posts on LinkedIn or Facebook or Instagram, or they're doing the same for you, or they're doing posts about you, like that's how you stay front of mind. And then you're staying front of mind with a whole another layer of people who they're connected to. So it's just this cross-pollination thing that happens all the time. So that is literally how I keep the network I keep, because I'm with people who are putting effort into the relationship. It's not just me all the time. And there are people that, I don't talk to as often. It doesn't mean they don't bring value, but they're not putting as much effort into the relationship. So I'm not going to exhaust my energy chasing them.
Yeah.
It's like dating, honestly.
You know what it reminds me of too is kind of totally like dating, but also it reminds me of how most social media algorithms work in a similar way, where the more time and energy you put in, or you visit someone, or you tune into their content and engage, the more you're going to see that. Why is it? A lot of people are like, I'm not seeing this person's post. Well, you haven't engaged in the past. So you're basically telling Facebook or LinkedIn or, Instagram that you're just not that interested in that person. So if we keep showing you content from someone that isn't really that important to you, you're going to scroll through it and have your experience is not going to be as good. Right. So if we show you stuff you like more often, you're going to spend more time here and engage more and use it more, right? It's no different than a restaurant. If they give you better food, you're going to come back more often, better experience more often. If there's bad service, bad food, eventually they start to fall back down the radar, right? So I think social media, elaborate what you meant when you're saying dating as well, like as far as
well, think
kind
about
of
it.
the triangle deal.
I'm sure like anyone can have this experience where, you reach out to somebody on like a social media dating site, right? And they take days to respond. They want to go out, but they can't pick a day and time. There's always some excuse. Like that to me is a chase. That's a game. Like I'm not here to play games. Like if you're not interested, then don't be interested. And the same thing applies to, to connecting with people. You connect with someone on LinkedIn. Hey, I would love to schedule some time. And then they take days to get back to you. Oh, I don't really use LinkedIn. Okay, well, we'll try email, or we'll schedule a call to schedule a meeting. And I'm like, I don't have time to chase people. If you're not interested, if you don't want to have a conversation, that's totally fine. But I don't have time to follow up with you every single day until we get something on the calendar. That just to me says either priorities or I'm not a valuable add to your network.
Exactly. So the energy, the vibrations of the people that are top of mind, which literally is people's energies, positive energy usually is what you're going to connect to and resonate with. That's who you're going to be engaging with on social, but also that's who in your physical, we'll call it real network of people that you can pick up your phone, text, call, get together, Zoom call with, is going to be in that same realm, right? So you kind of hang out with people that have the right vibrations as you do as well. So that was the multiple networking layers. Anything else you want to get in there that I didn't get in?
No.
So what about, it's really important to simplify and bring clarity to messaging. And I just wanted to say too, a lot of people that are listening to this, if you're a business professional, CEO, founder, entrepreneur, you can be anybody, athlete, entertainer, whatever your category is, we're all, at the end of the day, really a personal brand. Even if you're within an organization, right? You can be one of 40,000 people at a company. You're your personal brand. You're walking around. There's value that you bring to the company. And if you're a business owner, there's value you bring to your team and also your clients. So with that being said, talk about clarity of messaging for personal branding, networking, and how that all ties together.
Yeah. So having been in marketing for longer than I care to announce, so I don't reveal my age, but it's, branding is so imperative, right? Like making sure that you are clear on what it is that you're trying to accomplish. And I have found in the networking realm and in really teaching people how to be better networkers, it's not that people aren't clear on who their clients are, or even like what they're trying to do. They're missing gaps on who they are and what they bring to the table. There's this scarcity, rejection, judgment type mindset that unfortunately causes people to take less risk. It causes people to not believe in themselves, not value the skills and resources and life experience that they have, that they know that they can share with somebody to add value to whatever it is that they're doing. And it also causes this, I call it this brain fog over, where they see their business going, whether it's their business or the company that they work for. No one ask them, well, where do you see this going in 3 years? Who do you want to work with? Who are you trying to help? What are you trying to accomplish? And are like, well, I just got this job to get this job. And I'm like, okay, well, maybe that's not the job for you, right? But what does that look like for you? What should you be doing? What are you good
then
at?
you're on autopilot if you don't really know your purpose,
Right.
vision drawn up, and how you're going to get to where you want to go. And you gotta revisit that quite a bit. Otherwise, you get in autopilot mode. That goes for. I find myself sometimes when you're in the trenches, you're not taking a holistic view, and then other times it's just the planning stages need to happen, but execution has to happen. And if you're always executing, you're not planning enough. Some people make the mistake of planning for 12 months and they never get started. So you're talking about crystal clear messaging. And then from a networking stage or standpoint, you're saying make sure when you're talking to someone, you're crystal clear on how you explain and articulate what it is you do to help them out. Because a lot of people blabble, they just kind of throw out all the things that they do, but it doesn't make sense in how it helps someone out, right?
Right. So I love being, and it doesn't happen as much now. Like the virtual events I run, like I'm not telling people to necessarily do their 30-second elevator pitch unless I ask them. But I always find those very fascinating because one, people think they need to take the full 30 seconds. I'm like, do you realize how long 30 seconds is? It's forever. Like, you should be running on with your business during that time. Yeah. But the other piece of that I find very fascinating is people have this like, I need to tell people exactly what it is I sell. I sell printers. So I can't say I sell printers because it's boring and no one wants to do that. So I sell solutions for the office, right? And then you're like, what?
Duplicatable services for whatever. And you're like, all you had to say is like, you got a world-class copy machine and we would have got it.
Right.
Or something.
Right. And I think it's very... And this is not just one particular business that has this issue. Like I see this across the board. So in sales, a 30-second elevator pitch is important because essentially it's your commercial, right? You're trying to get people to be interested in wanting to have a conversation with you. But people aren't going to be interested in having a conversation with you based on what you sell necessarily, unless you happen to be in the right place at the right time. So what you should really be saying is, something that's, I tell people, like, think about keywords. If you know anything about SEO or marketing or making sure that your website comes on page one, essentially that's what SEO is, right? What would those keywords be? What are things that people are going to hear that are going to trigger an emotional response that's going to get them to be like, I want to know more. You are now interesting. And that is something that I wish people knew how to do more because it would provide them an easier step into having that one-on-one conversation rather than having it be just so stiffly structured around what it is that person's selling. And then getting to that one-on-one meeting, it's awkward. It's weird. Yeah. Like, well, I know we're here to talk about networking, but you got to know why I sell printers. Like, that's like a good start to the meeting.
Yeah, I think that's an awesome analogy. It's the first time I've ever heard someone use SEO and kind of to talk about a pitch, essentially, is what you're doing.
Yeah.
Elevator pitch or simply a networking 30-second, you go around the table. I think that's a great way of looking at it, where those keywords are going to resonate with somebody. And then all of a sudden, when everyone breaks free, the energies come back together, and then you're going to remember who you want to hang with. I think sometimes people try, like you're saying, and I appreciate effort. It means that they actually gave it thought, but sometimes they try too hard to be crazy, and they just like give you some off the wall things. So now everyone's chuckling. Cool. You made 40 people laugh. Ask all 40 of these people what the hell you do, and most people are going to be like, he was the guy who said like the backflip joke because he said, think about it backwards. What does he sell? Nobody knows, right? So it's cool to be creative and unique. I'm all about it. But again, it has to be simple. And the best brands in the world are a lot of times super simple. It's like common denominator stuff, how it makes you feel, how easy someone can explain
it. Your timeline, yeah.
Yeah,
it's
really
all marketing. And that's something that it really needs to go home with people all the time because you have to make sure that your message is distinguishable. And, you can say your network is 50,000 people, but out of those 50,000 people, who actually is going to advocate for you? That's the biggest thing. I'm
Yeah,
like,
you
your
can
Rolodex.
articulate what you do out of 50,000 people. If that's
Exactly. Then you have nobody. You just have people who are looking at whatever content you're spewing out, but it's not resonating. It's not causing people to talk to somebody else. It's not starting a conversation. Like, you want something that is going to start a conversation. You want people to actively be like, I saw your content and it made me think of blah, 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 or I tagged somebody else, or I'm interested in learning more. Like, that is what you want. You want people to engage.
Right. Absolutely. I got one more thing you can add to this, and then we'll get to the lightning round. So once you got someone up and running, they're starting to build their confidence in networking, right? And it could be a client of yours. It starts to get stronger. Then the next level is being self-sustainable, right? So let's talk about self-sustainable networking as well.
So I attribute the networking that I think is in my brain, so how I think networking should be community building, as the same as being healthy. You need to keep up with it. You need to maintain it. You need to look back and say, what's working, what's not working. I'm not 20 anymore. What I did when I was 20 isn't still going to work when I'm in my 30s, right? And I think the same applies to networking. Your life experience adds on, right? Your skill sets grow. You might change jobs. The way you think now versus the way you thought 5 years ago is completely different. So your clients might change. The people you surround yourself might change. You might have a major life experience. You get divorced, right? Like, that's a big one. And you might realize, I don't want to be around toxic people. I don't want to be around people who are like my ex, like, or have X, Y, and Z type mentality, right? So you always need to constantly say, okay, this isn't just a garden that I'm going to maintain in a 2x2. This is something that I'm going to make sure it comes back every single year. It's well maintained. There's no weeds. And if there are, I get to go and say, okay, is that a flower? Nope, it's a weed, and I'll pull it and get rid of it. And it has to be looked at that way, as an opportunity to really grow your business, build your own brand, market yourself, and build advocacy with others and yourself.
Yeah. That's amazing. That's one of the best highlights right there that I feel I've had on the show. And the reason I do this show is to have these conversations so things like that can get out and help people. So I'm hoping that the messaging right now, if you're listening to this or watching it, please go back and listen to what Christine just said. You know, the whole idea there is that, you know, and again, it's rippleeffects.us. I want you guys to check this out, riplefx.us, right? And it's how is this messaging resonating with you? So is there anything else that you want to add that you just feel is that X factor that someone can take? And just I wanted to reiterate the last thing you were talking about is actively doing this. So people could be mindful of networking. It's actually doing it and maintaining it over time. You use the example of going to the gym, right? It's not something you would want to do once a month,
right?
Once a quarter. It's the more energy you put into it consistently, that's when results build. But I feel this is so important for people. That's why I said go back and listen to that last section again. It's so important to realize that times change. So if you you use divorce as an example. So I can relate to that. I was married 7 years and got a divorce. And then it was like we were together 10 years. So all of a sudden now, from a dating standpoint, apps and stuff didn't exist back when I was dating, 10 plus years ago. So that's also relevant for business. If you weren't using LinkedIn the last time you were looking for a job, that could be possibly 5, 7 to 10 years ago that you were in a career and you thought you were doing well, and maybe you were. Now you're back in the market, and so you're a little bit nervous about what this looks like. Social media, maybe you're not a big fan of it, so you're staying away from it. So that's the person I want to say, you know what, hop on LinkedIn, connect with Christine. She's got great content out there. She's not scary to approach. She's very approachable, as you can see. She's got a great personality. And something I wanted to commend you on a little bit off topic is one of your posts that sticks out. You talked about doing things that are memorable. Was she did a funny post. You have a daughter as well. We both have daughters. How old is your little girl?
She's 2.5.
2.5. Okay. So my daughter's 5. So they're both old enough to kind of get a hold of our phone and do a selfie. So you know where I'm going with this. So you actually posted a picture of what it would look like if your daughter took a selfie of you, right?
Yeah.
You took the picture, but you made it look like it was something a kid.
Right.
because a kid takes a phone and they put it right in front of their face, and it's like their eyebrow or up their nose or the side of their head. So you posted it, and then you asked people, hey, post a picture as if your child took a selfie of themselves. I don't know if mine came through. I was having a hard time uploading it for some reason. But I just remember that. It gave me a chuckle. And I thought of it after that passed, that moment stuck with me because it was a little bit different, outside the box, funny. But now someone asks me about what you do, I know what you do through conversation, through the other content. So I know that was a lot, but I want you to kind of, if you want to put a bow on networking, if there's anything else you want to deliver real quick to our audience who can use your help, what would you tell them?
I would have people take a hard look at what they're doing. And especially during pandemic, are you able to survive networking in a digital world? And if you can't, that is something that we do very well, and our processes and methodologies are on point and have adjusted seamlessly into pandemic thus far. And I think the other thing too is it doesn't matter if you've been in business for 5 minutes or 50 years, there's always a fresh look and perspective and helping you to grow business as fast as possible, but also feeling good about it and having quality. Everyone, that's the biggest, you ask any salesperson, what is the number one issue that they have is keeping their funnel full and having enough people to talk to, right? I've never had that issue. And I love telling people how to do that.
I want to say something too. Again, I'm just going to speak from experience. I recently posted something that was talking about human connection versus just doing everything digitally, where everything can be automated now. There's a really important element of having that human connection. Let me make it clear, because I had a lot of people push back on that and say, well, I use Zoom all the time and I use social media. Look, I have a social media marketing company and a podcast production company. So I use technology as a tool all the time. What I'm saying is, use these tools to connect with people like Christine in your network, or myself, or your friends and other business connections. But the important thing is that you're really connecting with them on more of a level where you're bringing value to them, is my point. So it's not that I'm saying don't use the technology, and you're not saying that as well. You're just saying actively be on there and then contribute. You got to be a contributor to conversation. And what I wanted to say is, I responded to everyone who engaged with my post, and it was a quick way of just saying, like, I appreciate you engaging on this post and checking it out and being in my network. It was a real simple thing. You may have gotten one from me too if you engaged on that. And I'll tell you, it was unbelievable how many people respond. It was like probably 90% of the people I sent it to responded, and it wasn't in a quirky, like, just okay, great, have a nice night. They responded like, wow, Mike, thank you so much for reaching out to me. I appreciate that. And then we started talking about what they do, or more about what I do. And all it took was, some time to send messages out and be real, and then respond to the people who write to you. I mean, it's like, it sounds silly to say, but it's like communication. It's just modern day communication. It's a little bit different than what we grew up with.
Yeah.
This is the new norm, right? This is the new norm. And if you're really not jumping on the ship and taking it by the horns, then you're going to be, 5 years from now regretting it. I feel like you're going to be waiting.
Yeah, you'll be behind. I think you're absolutely right. You can absolutely be in a digital world and still add that human component, because you can be authentic and real and have actual conversations. Just because you can't be in the room or they're in a different time zone doesn't mean that you can't have a connection with somebody. It doesn't mean that there's not an opportunity for you and that other person to, maybe that sole purpose is just for them to connect you with someone else, or you to just connect them to somebody else. And that was it. That was the whole purpose. They're still in your network, but you don't talk to them on a regular basis. And maybe the sole purpose is to be on a podcast, right? Like, you just never know where it's going to go and what it's going to lead to. And I think when you can be yourself, and another, I guess, like, add-on I would tell people is, stop just posting about business on social media, like LinkedIn especially. Like, I understand it's a professional outlet, but like, other than like our events or orientation, like, I'm not posting about business all the time. I'm posting like who I've been meeting with. I do a connection trade every Tuesday. Things that are going to benefit other people on a regular basis.
I think that's awesome, and I appreciate you elaborating on that a little bit more. So we're gonna talk. We talked about what you do. We talked about ripple effects. So lightning round is designed to kind of learn a little bit more about you, and then how you can help our audience out on a deeper level as well. So in the middle of quarantine, we're kind of on the tail end of that because we can go out a little bit more. We're in phase 4, right? Unless they change it again. But last I heard, it's phase 4. I mean, you got to check it every 25 minutes. One skill or positive takeaway that you learned from the quarantine?
A skill? Better time management.
Okay.
Believe it or not, I have a very good flow with my day now, which is really nice.
Yeah, you tightened up your schedule a little bit.
Well, it wasn't even like I was more intentional with my time. So I use that word intentional all the time, but it applies to like everything. And I just had buckets of time that was just being wasted doing stuff that I didn't need to be doing, or before it could have been travel or gaps or whatever. So now it's not there.
Yeah, I did the same thing. I actually had my executive director help me clean it up because it's like, now's our time to reevaluate why I'm going crazy all over the place. Let's make sure we reel me in and keep me like a little bit more, not a little bit, but as much focus as possible. What is the ultimate accomplishment for you? What would you say?
So far, or just in general?
No, what is the ultimate accomplishment? So meaning something you're striving for that would be like, if I can get this would be the ultimate thing for me.
So it never ends for me. So that's kind of a loaded question. So the next accomplishment, I guess, is to have Ripple Effects have its own reputation internationally. So we have a little bit now, but not like it's like a few people. It's not a country. So it would be cool to have that level of exposure somewhere else in the world.
When you're not on LinkedIn, what can someone find you doing? If you're kind of finally letting your hair down, you're hanging out, what are a couple things that we can find Christine Smith doing in her free time?
So normally I would be at about 4 sports right now. So not being as active has been awful for me. But
what do you play?
So normally I'm golfing, which I have been able to get back into, which is great. I play beach volleyball, so I'm 5'11", flat-footed, so I'm in a lot of different sports. I'll play basketball, and then I joined flag football last year.
That's awesome. Okay, and where do you play flag football?
It's at a big sports dome in Latham, New York.
Okay, cool.
Which was really nice.
And you're home right now. Is it hometown as well as currently live in Albany, right?
So I am a little bit north of Albany in a place called Clifton Park.
Hudson Park. Okay, cool.
Clifton Park.
Say it again.
Clifton Park.
Clifton Park. Okay, Clifton Park. I got you. So something I want you to enlighten our audience with. I know you're actively always looking to better yourself, and the way you do that is what you put into your mind. So what are some of your favorite books, podcasts, or inspirational content?
So I'm in the middle of reading a book right now. I wish I brought it here because I can't think of the title. It's about like essentially ripples of change. So making small changes can actually build like better habits. It's Atomic Habits. I think that's
Atomic Habits. I've heard that as well. Yeah. I love that you ripple is not just a catchy word for you. It has a lot of meaning. You used it in describing what's happening a few times already in the conversation. So that whole chain of events deal from something that you do, whether it's make one connection that turns into 5, into 10, into a business deal, into a podcast connection, whatever it might be, it's a ripple effect. So you've used that. I like that. Yeah, Atomic Habits. It's a longer title than that. It's something of Atomic Habits, right? I believe.
Yeah, I mean that's the main part. Another book that I really liked. It was Influence, the Power of Persuasion. So I'm really fascinated by the psychological aspects of marketing and just how people react and think. And it's literally how you can have much better conversations with somebody and really kind of pick at, okay, well, how do we improve this? Well, we have to solve this habit because of this behavior. And once we are aware and we understand, here are tools and resources to get you moving forward, which I do that on the networking side for people. It's not just, well, hey, you should do this. It's, well, here's why this works. Here's how you can use it as your own. And here's how to apply this back into your world the way you think and the way you do things, rather than just, not everybody's like me, obviously, right? So I can't assume that you have to do this method perfectly. It's like, no, here is the high level way of how we do things.
Right.
But here is how to say it the way you would say it. Here's how to act the way you should act, not act like somebody else, because it's not authentic at that point.
It's interpretation. I love that. So you could read a book and you can interpret it, similar to a movie, where I love when directors and writers kind of leave some things, some elements up to the imagination, because two people can watch the same piece of film and come away with two different feelings, right? So with you're talking about an inspiring book that you felt you were able to read and kind of take the key elements from it and turn it into your personality shining through in the elements that you learned. And I ask anyone who's listening right now, next time you pick up a book, do it that way. Figure out how that can really be fuel for your fire, whatever that is, right? However you are. This is a big one right here. If you could be known for one thing, what would it be?
Community building.
Community building, yeah. I knew it was going to be somewhere in there, but I never know. I mean, could have been a world-class volleyball player. You never know.
No. I definitely think it would be just being a networking catalyst of our time. Yeah. Essentially, getting people to really change their perspective on how they connect with people and how they build business and how they're efficient. I'm sure you see this too. People are like, there's not enough time in the day. And I'm like, depending on the day, sure. But there is enough time in the day to have these conversations. And to me, this is, you're just not having the right conversations. You're not saying the things you should be saying.
Or when people say they're always too busy to do this and that, everyone has the same amount of time in the day. And really all it is like, great word you use is priorities, but you use intentionality. So when someone's intentional about their priorities, then they can absolutely truthfully be busy all day, morning to night, which is common for, I know, the two of us, and which is great. But there's this goofy quote, I think it's from the movie Christmas Vacation, where the guy says, "I'm working hard over here, Dad," and he's like, so do washing machines, right? They work hard too, but then they're not exactly productive. So don't just find yourself being busy to be busy. Like, how productive can you be with your time and schedule? And I think that's great insight as well to share with our audience here. And that's what we're going to do right here. We're going to give them one message. It's my core mission, right? If you've tuned in, you know it's coming right here. One message to inspire our audience to be brave and bold in pursuit of their dreams. They got something tugging at their heart and they're afraid to jump in. What would you tell them?
There's no judgment.
Yeah.
Plain and simple. Like, I love talking to people who consider themselves quirky and they don't fit in, or they're not in a box. They don't want to be putting into a box. And I was like, come on down, because this place has it.
Yeah.
I feel your pain, and I'd love to help you advocate for yourself and never lose that about yourself.
Mm-hmm. So if someone's in pursuit of their dreams, whatever that might be, you're saying it's okay to be you, right? Be unique. Yeah. And if that means you're maybe a little bit shy or you're quirky, but you're afraid that you're going to go to a networking event or whatever that looks like, and be kind of
own it.
Yeah, own that thing, right? Because that can also be that thing that might be what you're afraid of, is thinking it's a crutch, can actually be a catalyst.
Absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely.
That sounds like a book title, From Crutch to Catalyst. I trademark that. That makes sense, right? Am I the only one that feels that makes sense?
No, it makes perfect sense.
In my emails, in my LinkedIn messages, do you know my handle by now at the end? Be great and be grateful, right?
Okay.
So be great and be grateful. It's my mindset. So what I mean by that is, when you do anything, it's a task in your calendar, do it at a high level. Like, do it the best you can. And then also reflect in gratitude that you had the opportunity to do that, and work your day. I always try to be mindful, and I know it doesn't always happen. So after this call, I'm actually thinking about myself. I'm going to go spend some quiet time and think of things I'm grateful for. I'm going to put you on the spot right here. What are 3 things that you're most grateful for?
I am grateful for my connections. I honestly wouldn't have been able to build this company without all the people I have supportive me. My daughter, and she's obviously amazing. And I would say that the third thing is a woman that I've been coaching with for the last almost 2 years. She has been a big reason. What's that?
She's a client of yours?
No, I'm her client. So she's someone that I do coaching with on a regular basis, and she has gotten me through so many fogs. I can't even tell you. So for me to be able to have clarity on what it is I'm trying to do for people, she's the reason that I've gotten to this point.
So similar to a mentor or someone that you just they helped you through tough situations.
Yeah.
And that adversity and working with someone brought you closer together.
Yeah, and just really helped me see things very differently. So you said something I say a lot, using fuel for your fire. So some of the experiences I've had in life have not been very great at all. And rather than sitting in a corner and saying, this sucks and there's nothing I can do and blah, 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 I was like, what did I learn from this thing, whether it was painful or awful or whatever, and how do I use this to get me to that next step? And it could simply just be to share my experience with somebody else and say, listen, I had somebody that came to me who's getting divorced. She's really young. And she said all her friends told her that she was ruining her life and that she would never come back from this. And I literally told her, we're on a Zoom call, just like you and I was like, I'm going to tell you right now, you need to find some new friends. And that is not the case at all. That is not what divorce is. It sucks. It absolutely does. But, I don't think you should go into a marriage saying, well, if it doesn't work out, you get divorced. You go into marriage with somebody that you want to spend the rest of your life with. But if it doesn't work out, it's not the end of the world. You found out that this person wasn't who you married. They weren't the right person, whatever the situation is, right? Good, bad, ugly, different. Doesn't matter. You now have expressed and you're aware enough that you cannot continue growing as a person with this person in your life. Yeah. Because you're no longer on the same page. And I think it takes a big person to come to terms with something that is not small. Yeah. And you have an experience now. That's it. It doesn't define you. It doesn't show.
I was just going to say that it's something I say a lot is like a moment, whether it's great or negative, like one moment doesn't really define someone's entire character and situation. So in the moment, it certainly feels like what her friends are saying, and you gotta be careful who you're getting your advice from. That's just great thought and insight for anyone listening. I mean, a lot of times it's people who maybe they're not even married and they're telling you, this divorce is going to derail you and all this stuff. But and a lot of times too, be careful because friends and family usually do mean well and they're trying to help and they're just helping you in the only way they know, but they're not always the expert in that particular advice that they're giving. So that goes for anything that's said. Appreciate what you're getting, but just make sure you understand and put it in a perspective. But I think that's excellent. You're talking about, just someone going through that very difficult time, divorce, right? And I've been there, so I get it, but not living in that moment for too long. Of course, it's going to be painful for, depending on how real your marriage was and how long it was, and everyone has their own story. It's going to hurt, but get yourself right back and find I took it as an opportunity to find myself again, what I wanted to get out of life, how I can serve the world, what I belonged in doing, the compromises I made that I did for my marriage, that I was willing to do the compromise, but then when it didn't work out, I felt like I kind of compromised and failed. So why wouldn't I compromise for something that's a bigger dream? So I just gave myself no excuses to go for anything I wanted. Yeah. And I can see you doing that. And one of the things you said, going back to what you want to be known for, was networking, but you used another term for that. It was
community builder.
Community builder. I see you doing it. You're active in it. I don't see any reason why you're not going to get to the highest level you're looking for And what's most exciting for me saying that is I'm going to not only follow your career, but also I know that when you're doing well, others are doing well too, because you are all about giving first, bringing them up. The better Christine is doing, the more influence you'll have on a larger group of people in the whole world. The whole universe is better for it. Anyone tuning in right now definitely is, because you've been fantastic on the show. Any last words you want to give here before we part ways for the night?
Other than thank you so much for having me. That's all I have.
Yeah, no, this is awesome. So now, do you want to give out like your personal social too? Like, where I know obviously they can look for Christine Smith, and it's Albany is you'll see it in Ripple Effects, right? So
Yeah.
that's all
Yeah,
an easy way to connect. But do you have other social that you want to share with us too?
That's the only social that I'm on pretty actively. Like I mean, I have a Facebook page, but I don't really use it on the professional side. But I'm easy to find. I know there's a lot of Christine Smiths out there, but I'm easy to find because I'm with purple hair. So
yeah, she has a purple hair. And obviously, if you guys are already listening to this, most likely you're connected to me, and she's in my connection, so it should show up as a first or second connection for you. Thank you so much for your time. This was fun. Let's keep the conversations flowing, and I look forward to seeing what you're up to in the near future as well.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Mike.
I love you guys, and thank you so much for tuning in. Check out more show notes and information on each episode at mikeduppodcast.com, MIKED uppodcast.com. We're powered by Social Chameleon. You guys know what to do. Be great and be grateful.